it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to never stop. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.
Hey guys, I'm the Black Pearl and welcome to the latest episode of My Future, My Career.
Oh yeah, and I'm Zola. Now, My Future, My Career is proudly brought to you by Nedbank.
This Nedbank initiative is aimed at equipping you with tools to make informed choices when it comes to choosing your career.
Oh yeah, so we'll take an in-depth look at different careers, what they entail, and chat to industry experts in different career fields.
Now you all know when we walk into the shops, the shelves are usually filled with all kinds of stuff. Delicious food, amazing clothes, hardware, games, books, you name it, it's there.
Indeed, Pearl, but how does it all get there? And who chooses what goes on the shelves? Which brand, what size?
How does it all work? Well, you may not realize it, but there is a huge industry full of people who are dedicated to making sure that the right products get from the factory to the shop on time. This is the world of transport and logistics, and today we're going to find out how it all works.
Pearl, you are so clever, girl. So listen up, because if you are organized, work well in a team, and like to keep things moving, you might be right for a career in transport, logistics, and distribution.
We got to keep it moving. We got to never stop.
We kick off with a special message from the man himself, Mike Brown, CEO of Nedbank.
Selecting a career for yourself can be a very confusing process.
First up, we chat to Tatenda Mbara, a lecturer and coordinator of the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management at the University of Johannesburg. And later in the show, we get some top tips from the fairy godmother.
Tabila will run through some tools on how to choose the right career.
So you should take ownership for your own career choice process.
Do you have big dreams of pursuing your ideal career but don't have the financial means?
Well, check out the bursary info in your booklet to find out the many ways in which you can get funds to study.
Let's get straight into it. Check it out.
To keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.
Hello, my name is Mike Brown, and I'm the CEO or Chief Executive Officer of Nedbank. And I'm here today to talk to you about careers. Selecting a career for yourself can be a very confusing process. Now that you are in secondary school, you are expected to begin carving a path for your future. The difficulty is that at this point in your life, some of you might not have enough information or experience to make the right choice, and careers themselves are changing rapidly as technology evolves. I was fortunate enough to pursue a career I felt passionately about, but I was in a way lucky to start down the right path. Influenced more by what some friends were doing and what my parents thought than through any formal career guidance. After school, I completed a Bachelor of Commerce degree, followed by a diploma in accountancy, and finally qualified as a chartered accountant with Deloitte in the early 1990s. After 17 years in the banking industry, I have achieved a milestone in my career, to have the privilege of leading a proud organization that traces its history back to the 1830s. I say fortunate because I believe that I am the exception, not the rule. To help you become the exception and not the rule, we have launched the My Future, My Career initiative. Through a series of interviews with industry professionals and educational specialists, we hope to paint a clear picture of a wide range of careers available to you, so you don't just follow your friends like I did. To complement the series, we will also be providing each of you with a booklet containing national curriculum information, career information, places to study, and bursary information. These tools will assist you in making an informed choice that will point you in the right direction to match your skills, aptitudes, and passions to market opportunities and get you started on your selected path. Nedbank's slogan is "Make things happen." This applies not only to the bank, but to each of you in your own lives. So use the valuable information you will receive today to plan out your own future and make it happen. If you plan carefully, set goals for yourself, and then work hard to achieve these, you can be anything you want to be. Take every opportunity you have and don't be afraid to be ambitious. Who knows, you may even be the CEO of Nedbank one day, or maybe you have already set your goals even higher.
Keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top.
Today we are kicking off the show with Mr. Tatenda Mbara, a lecturer and coordinator of the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management at the University of Johannesburg.
Oh yeah, now Tatenda's career in lecturing, research and consulting has taken him from Zimbabwe to Germany, Uganda and Malawi, and of course the good old Mzansi, for the moment that is. Now he comes highly qualified with a BSc and MSc in the area of transport planning and management, and of course is also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to have you here, sir. Welcome, Tatenda.
Thank you very much.
The University of Johannesburg, right, has a whole department dedicated to logistics. Is logistics really so important?
Thank you for that very important question. A lot of people actually ask about the importance of logistics. The University of Johannesburg, and in particular, the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management has been involved in this area for the last 40 years. The department, when it started, it had a focus in transport economics, but obviously with the changing times, they had to refocus, and that department was renamed Transport and Supply Chain Management to reflect the changing times as well as market needs. So logistics, I cannot actually emphasize its importance. But when we talk about logistics, we are really talking about value chain. But as a discipline, people actually became conscious about logistics, started addressing it in earnest only in the late 1980s. And interestingly, it was actually in agriculture, in the area of agriculture, in terms of the movement of products in order to get value in terms of time as well as place utility.
Now, without transport and logistics, the entire supply chain grinds to a halt. Now, to go from the farmer's gate to the consumer's plate takes a lot of steps. Can you give me those steps using bread as an example, please?
Thank you very much, Pearl. It doesn't actually start with the production of wheat by the farmer, but it starts by procuring the seed and the necessary inputs. He grows the wheat. The wheat is actually harvested. It is actually stored at the right temperatures, and then it is actually sent to the millers. The millers actually produce the flour, and the flour is actually sent to the bakeries. Bread is produced, and then it's sent to the retail shops, and finally the consumer will actually buy the bread from a retail shop. So there are a lot of aspects in terms of procurement, distribution, inventory management, transportation and customer care.
So you could be working with the road transport, rails, ships, bicycles, etc. But what are the courses that are offered at UJ?
UJ offers a variety of programs in the area of logistics for institutions which offer logistics. VAL, University of Technology, Tshwane, University of Technology. There's also University of Zululand, which is being assisted by the department I work for. Polytechnic of Namibia, which we are also assisting. Then degree levels, University of South Africa, and the University of Stellenbosch, that only at degree level. But the University of Johannesburg, as I said earlier on, they cover diploma as well as degree programs up to PhD level.
Lovely.
Nice. Now, what would one learn as part of the course?
There's a lot to learn as part of the course. It also depends on the actual program. For instance, as far as logistics is concerned, logistics actually in its own right is a subject you've got to learn. If you're specializing in that, you may actually do the course in 2 or 3 years. Then there are also other supporting disciplines you need to learn. Purchasing, business management, strategic planning, risk management, costing and estimation.
And now, is it hard to get into your course?
Zola, I think there are 2 aspects to your question. The first one is to do with demand and supply. The places are obviously actually limited. You may have actually seen that there are a lot of students who are seeking university places, particularly logistics, and we can't actually accommodate all students. So that's the first part. The second one actually refers to the requirements for any students who want actually to come and study the course. Obviously, each program has got its own requirement. Just for example, if you want to come and do a diploma, you need to actually pass maths, a score of 3.
Okay.
And also you need English. And your total admission score point for logistics diploma should be 26, for transport management 24. But when it comes to Bachelor of Commerce, you need an admission application score of 28. Maths, at least a score of 5, and also English. That's a requirement. So if anybody wants actually to come and study, maths is critical for logistics. Maths literacy for our BCom courses, Bachelor of Commerce, they don't allow. But for our diploma courses, yes, maths literacy, we allow, but the score actually increases to 5 instead of 3. Then you can take another language or another science subject, as long as the total score is actually a minimum of what is actually required, as I said.
Where can we get more information from?
Information on logistics and transport management can be obtained in the booklet, which you've already received, and also information about other institutions is also in the same booklet. You can actually contact the various people who are mentioned in the booklet.
Okay.
Fantastic. Now, what personal qualities does one need in order to succeed in logistics and transport?
Zola, I think I can sum up that in 2 words: critical thinking. As I said earlier on, we are really talking about value chain. You need actually to analyze this value chain. And in all essence, you need to be skillful in the conceptualization and evaluation of the value chain. So critical thinking is important.
Do you really have to study, or can you get on-the-job training?
There's no substitute for a qualification. It's also important in its own right. We have a lot of students at my university, particularly for the extracurricular programs, who are already working, who actually found the value of actually getting a qualification. As one actually intimated to me, he said that as far as progression is concerned, you actually need a qualification to proceed, to progress.
Yeah. And would you say, do you need a lot of technical computer skills?
Computer skills is a question which is often asked. I wouldn't say a lot, but obviously you need to be computer literate because of the what I talked about, value chain. You need to analyze, you need information, and definitely you need to be computer literate, but not a lot.
Yeah, and I think this one is really important because everybody wants to get employed after studying. Now, after graduating, is it very easy to find employment? And what employment can you find?
Right. That's a good question, Pearl. Let me say that from my own experience at the University of Johannesburg, being a coordinator, I've received quite numerous requests from companies in respect to employment. Most of our students can secure employment easily in industry. But having said that, there is also the individual disposition which is required. You need to market yourself aggressively. The jobs are there. In the country at the moment, there's a skills shortage as far as this area of logistics and transport is concerned. But finally, let me also say that I'll be disappointed as an educator if we are just training people to look for jobs. We also want to train people to create jobs for others so that they will be able actually to provide these jobs.
Now, if they want employment, then what companies are looking to hire?
There are a variety of companies. It might be in manufacturing, retail, government institutions, transport companies in their own right. So there's a variety of companies. When you talk about movement, logistics, it's everything. It's everything. Whenever there's movement, there's logistics which is actually involved.
Now, lastly, sir, we want to know what type of advice would you give scholars that are interested in logistics and transport? Logistics
is a bit of a wide spectrum. You need to know exactly what you want. You need actually to do more research. You need also probably to visit companies and acquaint yourself in terms of what is actually going on. And the bottom line, above all, you need to pass your maths and English.
Nice one. Thank you, Mr. Mbara, for joining us. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's see if you can solve this.
Is the following statement true or false?
In order to work as a buyer, you need to be a chartered accountant. The answer coming up just a little later.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
Thembi Mbengashe hails from the Eastern Cape and studied towards a BCom in Information Systems at the University of Cape Town. Her first job, believe it or not, was as an on-air presenter at the SABC. I remember watching her on TV. And then she worked as station manager for various on-air retail radio stations.
After that, it became really interesting. She joined Pick n Pay as marketing manager, special projects, working on media services and World Cup rugby and soccer. And then joined the buying department, first as a fresh buyer of cheese, fish, cold meat, etc. And then as buyer for frozen foods, and then poultry, and then now...
And now can I just tell them what she does now, because this is really exciting. Thembi is now the senior buyer with the full title Business Unit Head of Health and Beauty, where she oversees 5 buyers who buy health, beauty and medicinal products for Pick n Pay. How cool is that?
Totally
really awesome.
Fantastic.
Welcome,
You
Thembi.
girls, I am so impressed. Thembi, wow. Now, getting the goods onto the shelves, that starts with the buying process, right? It's the first piece of the puzzle, and I'm sure it sounds easy, but different strokes for different folks. I mean, different customers want different things. How do you decide, how do you go about getting and buying the right stock?
Well, Zola, firstly, buying is probably the most exciting part of retail. I know I'm prejudiced, everybody else thinks their part is the most important, but literally it starts with the customer. How do you decide what to buy? Literally, the customer dictates what we buy. So it's about getting the right product at the right time, at the right cost, to the right customer at the right place. And that's really what buying is. I mean, when I got into buying, it was something I never thought I would get into. As I was doing marketing, I thought, oh, this is so exciting. And then I realized to really understand retail, you have to get into buying, because all buying is really the study of the customer. So firstly, what we do is we check the sales, and whatever the customers are buying is literally what we buy.
Now, Thembi, it sounds like a really fun job, and I have friends in mind that I think would make excellent buyers. But I want to know, do you get told what to buy, or do you have free reign?
Well, this is the best part. Okay, so buyers literally decide what to buy. So the first thing that really dictates what to buy is the format of the store. So obviously something in Sandton will be very different from something in Soweto. Those customers are different. You also then decide what the market is buying. So if you have to buy baked beans, is everybody just having normal baked beans, or is there a chili flavor and a tomato flavor? So that's a buyer also decides that. And then the buyer decides on the price. So let me actually take a step back. What a buyer's job is, really, they're responsible for the gross margin, the turnover and the range. So when you look at the turnover and the gross margin, it's literally on the price. So I look at the prices in the market and I say, what is the price at Woolworths, at Checkers and at Spar, and what must the price of that shampoo be? And I obviously want the best price. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that, because you want to make sure that when the customer walks in, they can basically buy a shampoo at the rock bottom price, at like an average value price, and then at a premium price. So that's what you must make sure, that you've got an offering for all those customers, because there's some people who don't really care what they put on their hair, and then there's other people who want to put like the creme de la creme on their hair, and then you've got everybody in between.
Yes.
So that's the gross margin and the turnover side. Then the ranging side, which people don't realize this is what buyers are responsible for, we actually decide how it's laid out on the shelf. And there's actually a big science around how customers buy.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So buyers will decide how the product is laid out on the shelf. Is it on the top left, or is it the bottom right? And everything that is what we call market leaders. So in Simba chips, for example, in chips, Simba is the market leader. In fizzy cool drinks, Coca-Cola is the market leader. So you always have the market leader eye level on the right-hand side, and everybody else will go to the left of them, or to the bottom of them, or to the top of them. So buyers basically decide based on consumer research, based on which is the best-selling product, on how the shelf is laid out. So we decide that as well.
Oh, wow.
That is like...
Now, sometimes you go to a shop that you absolutely love, you know where everything is, and then the next week you go back and everything has been rearranged. Do the buyers do that as well, and why does that happen?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you remember, but a few years back, when you walked into the store, the first thing you actually saw was like the customer service desk, or you saw the trolleys. And then it was, as customers' taste change, we realized that customers wanted to have more fresh. So now when you walk into the store, the first thing you see is the flowers, or
Yeah.
you see the bakery. Because customers now, when they shop, because we are in South Africa and we drive on the left, so when customers walk in, it's not accident that when you walk in, the first thing you go through is the fresh department, and the last thing you go through is like the plugs and the mops and whatever. It's no accident. So we literally, it's so funny because it's a little bit of customer demand, but also a little bit of sometimes, we always say we sometimes teach customers how to shop. So when we realize that the fresh department has high margin, lots of variety, customers are becoming healthier, they want to have fresh carrots, not canned carrots anymore. We basically put a lot more emphasis on the fresh department. So you walk in and the first thing you'll see is the bakery. Always. And it hits you with that smell, you see the bread, you're like, oh, this is delicious. And then you hit the fruit and veg, normally next to each other. And then you come through and you'll go through chilled, frozen, go through your groceries, and then end off with your hard goods. So it's not an accident. Talking about moving products, so one of the things we used to do in the past, for example, men's razors. Now, when men shop, they come in and they just want to buy, right? Men don't like to walk around and what have you. So just to show you a little bit of sometimes how customers will always dictate. So in the past, people used to move men's razors around in the store to force men to find them, to force men to walk through the store, right?
See, other stuff as well.
So they used to. So buyers were like, okay, men don't shop, so we're gonna keep these around. But eventually, what happened is men were like, actually, I don't have the time, so I'm not going to look for it. I can't find it where I used to find it. I'm going to leave it. So now we always put razors in the same place, but with women it's slightly different. You can actually put things in different places and actually get the customer to shop in a certain way. So, for example, you will always put baby food next to nappies. We call it adjacencies. Buyers decide that as well. You'll always put baked beans next to coffee. I don't know why, but it always seems to work better.
Coffee and baked beans together.
I don't know why
see
customers
those
do that, but there's like little adjacencies that make sometimes little no sense, but are almost driven by what the customer does. So a buyer will do that as well. We really look out for the layout of the store.
Fantastic, Thembi. Now, wow, that's a lot of science, eh? So I want to know, describe a typical day at work for you.
Okay, so retail tends to start early. So you get into the office and the first thing you do is check all the figures. So you check the gross margin that was achieved yesterday, the sales that was achieved yesterday, the strike rate. So when you look at the demand planners and the people at the DC distribution centers, you check how much was delivered. Because basically, unless you got 100% of your products, you can't sell 100% of them, right? So if you only got a 50% delivery, it means that your sales are going to be 50% down. So getting the product to the stores, the demand planners and the distribution centers really play a very integral part. So you check all of that. Then the day is, for the bulk of it, made up with meeting suppliers. Come into the office and suppliers will be presenting to you either new products, so you must decide to list a new product, and it's a very difficult decision because remembering it's a risk. Every single piece of retail, every piece of space in a shop is money, okay? Because for every square little centimeter, you're paying rent, you're paying wages, you're paying for the trucks. So you must make sure you're basically taking a risk. You're saying, I've got a can of baked beans. I know that can of baked beans sell. Here comes a person with another can of baked beans, but this one is in a different can. Customers don't know it. If I take that one off and I put this new one, am I going to get the same amount of money? Because you don't have any more space, right? So they will present new products. You'll check pricing. Sometimes they come with price increases, which is also a big challenge because when they take price increases, I can't be outpriced. So it's a fine line. You're like, and they'll tell you, no, they've given the price increase to everybody. You're like, what? I haven't seen the prices go up, because you check the prices every day. You probably check prices throughout the entire day, whether it's in the newspapers, you've got a price check system that you get throughout the day, so they'll do price increases. They will also sometimes come through and they will do ranging. So they will come to you and they will say, listen, I'm discontinuing X lines. And it's also risky because customers like certain products. So for example, when Unilever did Rama, they came through with new packaging and they actually got rid of the Rama original brick. The 500-gram original brick everybody loves. They were like, no, new research says that the customers want margarine that says margarine for baking, margarine for spreading. And you know what? Within like literally a month, customers were like calling, losing their minds. We're like, we want the Rama back. So they will discontinue product. Some days, maybe once a month, you will do ranging, where you look again at all your products and say, out of my top 10 of my, like each buys about 3,000 products. Out of my 3,000, which ones are not making me any money? I'm going to discontinue them. And once again, it's determined by the customer. The product's not making money because the customers are not buying it. So why have a product on shelf if the customers aren't buying it? Every Friday, we go out to stores. We wish we could go out sometimes more, but you know what? You have no idea how many suppliers you actually see. You will see suppliers back to back, Monday to Thursday, and if you don't put that time in your diary to go see stores, so you'll go to competitors, you'll just walk the street sometimes just looking at what customers are doing. For example, one of the things I picked up, if you look at frozen chicken, and by the way, frozen chicken is probably the single biggest line in all of retail. It's the weirdest thing.
Wow.
Frozen 2-kilo portions.
Yes.
At any given time, between that and Coca-Cola, it's the #1 product in the whole of South Africa. And when you look at customers buying frozen chicken, by spending the time and just watching, you saw customers picking up the bags and just shaking it, like looking at it and picking it up, and they'd pick like 6-7 bags, and we're like, but it's the same price. What are they looking at?
They're looking for the drumstick.
Correct. So once again, you now realize that when you're now finding with, when you do product development, which is what buyers can get involved in, you've got to make sure that there's always a drumstick. So we make sure there's a minimum of 2 drumsticks for every 2 kilo. But that's a problem because the drumstick is probably one of the smallest pieces. So when you look at a 2-kilo bag, the drumstick does not add that much weight to the 2 kilo. So you need to have more pieces of the other stuff, meaning more chicken, less money. So it's a toss-up, right?
Wow.
It's a pity customers want the drumstick, but it doesn't add to the weight. If they like the breast, that would be great because you'd have less chicken in a 2 kilo. So as buyers, you get into that kind of detail, and what's exciting is, I think for young people now, is that in the past, buying used to be about buying everything. But now the world has moved into category specialized buying. So what it means is that if you love health and beauty, if you love makeup, you can literally specialize only in makeup. Because we've realized that it takes a different strategy to sell a drumstick to a lipstick. So you need buyers who actually specialize. Learning about the chicken. I mean, when I bought chicken, I used to go to abattoirs probably once a month. I've seen so many chickens being slaughtered.
Yeah.
And you've got to know what the chicken eats so that when the maize price goes up, you know that 60% of the diet is maize. So you know that when the maize price goes up, that's the price of chicken. You need to know that how they do it, what they put into their products. So what's great for a young person is that if you love makeup, you can do that. If you love music, you can buy CDs. If you love food, you can buy only hot food. So you can do all the, barbecue chickens and chips and pap and wors that you buy. That's all you specialize in. Specializing just in that. So
it sounds so
exciting is that?
Yeah, very. Now, I want to know though, you mentioned suppliers quite a lot. Does your job also involve price negotiations with these suppliers?
Yes, all day. So if you're going to go into buying, unfortunately, you can't really be that timid because it's quite a volatile relationship. I mean, sometimes it gets quite heated because it's about money.
Yeah.
They want to save money, you want to make more money, so it gets quite heated, yeah.
Now, how do you know how much of each product to buy, and how do you find the balance?
Once again, dictated by the customer. The customers really dictate so much of what we buy, right down to the quantity. It's the customer.
Now, do you get into trouble if there's an overstock of a product or an understock?
We always have a saying in buying, you never, ever, there's no good buyers because you either you bought too much and there's an overstock, or you bought too little and customers bought it all and everybody goes, why didn't you buy more? So there's no such thing as a good buy. There's always this tiny fine balance, and yes, it's a big problem because if there's an overstock, remembering that if product is sitting there, it's not making money and there's no cash in the bank, there's no interest in the bank. So you need to make sure that you sell the products.
Now, do you always buy your stock locally, or do you also have international suppliers?
Well, in normal categories, we actually buy all across. Unfortunately, we don't travel as much as we used to, but if you go into general merchandise, which is buying your TVs and what have you, that's a great category because you have to go to China almost 4 times a year as a minimum, and you have to go like a toy buyer or glassware and what have you. General merchandise, they're so lucky, they have to travel. So they go to all the fairs in Germany, the toy fairs, and they go to China to buy the TVs. But most of the stuff, as if you're buying now, you buy from all over the place. It's a mix.
And how does importing goods into the country differ from buying locally?
It's a bit more complex because of the currency fluctuations, but for the most part, you buy at the best price. So if I can get the price cheaper anywhere else, I do so. Remembering, of course, you also want to keep jobs in South Africa, but unfortunately, customers, once again, vote with their feet. If your competitors are buying all their stock from Brazil and you're not, you will be outpriced.
Now, how does one get into buying? Like, what kind of educational background would be needed?
As you can hear, it's quite financially driven, lots of numbers. And funny enough, you know, even though I did a BCom, I didn't actually like numbers that much. I didn't like the study of money, but what is interesting about buying is that even though you're not like an accountant, it's really not for a person who's like you don't have to be like an accountant person. By virtue of the numbers, it actually gets quite exciting because it's probably one of the only industries where every day you know whether you did a good job or a bad job. Because at the end of the day, people either bought your stuff or they didn't buy it. True. So you need probably a very strong financial background because you do a lot of numbers. Many of the universities provide a retail management, which is great. Supply chain is also quite useful because it's part of the link, but I think definitely a financial background is good.
Yeah, and do you work with other departments or is it more of a solo job?
Well, buyers a little bit laws on their own, but you have to work with other departments because obviously you've got to work with the demand planners, you've got to work with the distribution centers, you've got to work with the suppliers all the time, you've got to work with admin, you've got to work with the accountants because literally buyers are the engine of any retailer. When they say Woolworths made money or Pick n Pay made money, they mean buyers made the money or buyers lost the money. So that's what they meant. So really, buyers are the engine room of any retail environment.
Okay. It seems like you are working with a lot of people. So what's the most difficult aspect of your job?
It's probably the best and the worst together. It's the customer. On any given day, you're either doing a great job or you're doing a terrible job. And with the economy the way it is, customers don't have as much money as they used to. So every single time the maize price goes up and the supplier comes to you, increases his price, you have to increase the price, and the customer calls you like, how dare you? I'm a pensioner, I don't have, and you know, and you feel it, you know, they don't say, you know, Koo is the problem, or they don't say, you know, Simba's the problem. They say, you as the buyer, you are the one who's making my children not eat today. So trying to making the customer happy is the best part of the job and probably the worst part because customers are ruthless. They'll take you out.
Would you recommend buying as a fulfilling career path?
Absolutely. It's so exciting. I didn't get into buying knowing what buying was. But as I said, if you, whatever you love, whether you love baked goods or groceries or makeup or kids' toys or babies, there is literally a product that you can buy and you get to learn the science of that product, you learn the customers, you learn everything. So guys, buying is so exciting. Clothing, fashion, anything. You can buy anything. Anything that you buy, you can become a buyer for and you can specialize in it. So it's very exciting.
Oh, Thembi, I am sold.
I want to be a buyer now.
Excellent.
I want to be a fashion and beauty buyer.
Going once, going twice. You bought me, Thembi.
You bought me too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Brilliant. Thank you.
We got to never stop. We got to keep it moving.
After the break, are the pieces of the transport, logistics and distributions puzzle starting to fall in place for you? Well, don't despair. We have it all mapped out for you. A demand planner coming up next.
All of that right here on My Future, My Career, brought to you by Nedbank. You don't want to miss it.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
These days, all we want is to ensure a healthier planet for our children. And so, we do what we can. We recycle, save water, and turn our lights off behind us.
However, despite our best intentions, we can't help but feel a little powerless when faced with the plight of the rhino, the consequences of overfishing, and the impact of climate change. What if the most it took to make a big difference was something that you did anyway, like your everyday banking?
The answer is the Nedbank Green Affinity account, the only account that supports green causes at no cost to you.
Open a Nedbank Green Affinity account today. Make things happen. Nedbank.
We got to keep it high. We got to keep it.
Now, before the break, we wanted to know whether the following statement was true or false. In order to work as a buyer, you need to be a chartered accountant.
Now, if you said the answer was false, then you were correct, because you can enter into this field with qualifications in marketing, information technology, retail management, etc., etc.
Thank you, Pearl. Okay, but up next,
A demand planner.
Hey, Eugene, let's check it out.
Keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.
Next up, we have Eugene Sikakani, a demand planner at Pick n Pay.
Eugene obtained a national diploma in human resources management from the Natal Technikon. He furthered his studies at the IBN Computer School, where he successfully completed a diploma in business computing.
Oh yes, now his main employment has been at Pick n Pay, where he has had an exemplary career path with promotion upon promotion up and until his current position as demand planner. Welcome, Eugene.
How are
good,
you?
Sir?
I'm good, and you guys. Thank you
We're
very much.
great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, demand planning, is another important part of the buying process. I don't know, what is demand planning, and could you just describe it and explain to me and the folks watching?
Okay, demand planning is the division that has been granted the right to organize or plan the stock, the right stock, to the right stores at the right time. And in terms of doing that, we use analysis. We kind of like have all the stores, more like a pool of stores, and we have the DC that you will get our stock to, and then we distribute that stock to the DC.
So you basically need to predict what the stores need and when they need it. Is there a pressure to always get this right? And what happens when you actually get it wrong?
I wouldn't say really predict it. I would say instead we do analysis. We have history from the past that we take, and then we put together, and then we work with numbers. We then identify which stores will actually need how much stock at a time, and then depending on the event, if maybe we have a promotion or maybe it's just an ordinary ordering for daily basis, we then, if it's a promotion, just for example, we will then add more in terms of what we did last year to cater for the promotion that's coming. Obviously, we'll actually look at if we have the promotion on the radio or it's going to be on TV or it's going to be on papers. That will actually determine in terms of how much you're going to add more.
Now, I understand there are two places that need to be stocked up, the distribution center and the store itself. What is a distribution center?
Okay, yes, you're right. Distribution center is actually a center that we use to bring stock from all over the country from different vendors, which is suppliers, to bring it to one place so that it's going to be easy for Pick n Pay to distribute to each store. For an example, I'll just say we do this to actually try and have an effective transport system as well. Because if we were to have our vendors distributing delivering to each and every store, actually that would be costly. Yeah. And then in terms of making that better, with the distribution center, we get one truck with all the orders combined to each store for different days.
So would we say a distribution center is a warehouse?
It's not
a warehouse.
We don't really use the term warehouse for distribution center because we would like to get the stock to the distribution center, then it must go distribute.
Now, Eugene, why is it so important to coordinate between the distribution center and the shops?
In Gauteng only, we have about more than 500 stores, right, that we have to cater for. And in most cases, we'll have just one vendor, which is one supplier for milk, okay? And that one supplier, and then the demand planners will actually coordinate the orders from all stores, combine
from all
them
500 stores?
Yes.
Wow.
In one room, we combine all of the things, all of the orders. We would know which stores will need to get what quantities. And then based on that quantities, we will then come up with a fixed order for one supplier, which is a milk supplier, that's going to bring it to the distribution center. And then once it gets to the distribution center, then you'll go back to the order that we had created for each store. And then the DC will pick according to what the store has needed.
So this one needs 10, you give them 10, this one needs 15.
10, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on whether it's for the week. Or we can actually order from the vendors for a week, and then we'll break it down to days for each store.
makes a lot of sense.
Sounds like a lot of work, eh?
It does.
It is actually, but then we do have systems that actually help us with that.
Now, speaking of systems, I'd like to know, do you use a lot of computers in your jobs, and is the process highly automated, and does it make your job easier or harder?
Yes, we do have highly automated system that we use, but then there's a lot that we actually need to do in terms of feeding that automated system. In terms of we need to get the data, all right? Because if that system is not getting the right information from what it has been given, then it won't give us the right end results. In terms of the right packaging, the right pallet size, and everything like that.
Okay, and how important is it for you to communicate with other departments in your organization?
It's very important, because just imagine if marketing had actually have a big promotion coming, and then the demand planners doesn't know anything about it. On the day of promotion, we will all be surprised in stores will be no stock. But then if the marketing department and the buyers come together and then communicate with the demand planners, we will all plan in time, and then by the time of promotion, we will have wonderful stock in stores.
Now, can you study to become a planner, and what sort of qualifications would I need?
Yes, of course, you will study to become a planner, but currently we don't really have a demand planning as a standalone diploma or BCom. We're actually using supply chain and forecast management as the qualification that you would need to get through.
So one would need to study supply chain and focus management. And what personal skills would one need to be a demand planner? Do you need to be as exciting and as enthusiastic as you are?
Of course, you're right. You have to be very enthusiastic, and you need to be very much self-motivated, because there's a lot that you do on your own. And you need to actually be able to convince the rest that what you have is actually right. But then you need to have analytical thinking, okay? And you must have information search skills. You should be able to go and get information. And then you should have problem-solving skills. And then you should be able to manage people as well.
And work in a team.
Yes, and coordinate as well.
Eugene, how does one get involved into planning?
It's very easy. You have to do supply chain management and forecast management, and then if you're working for a company that has supply chain or demand planning, then you can actually start joining if you can join in. And then if you're working with orders, obviously anything that has to do with orders is actually demand planning.
Now, what goes through your mind when you walk into a shop? Do you immediately get into planning mode?
100% you're right, because now you want to see exactly if whatever stock that you had actually sent into stores, you want to see if it's making exactly impact that you want, in terms of, is it fitting the right space? Is it enough in that space? Does it look good for a next customer to actually see and be actually driven to take one, even though they were not actually planning to take one? So you actually do want to balance your theory from the office and what you see in the store. So
you're always working, even when you're shopping,
always,
when you stock out.
Always, because now you get very, very furious if you walk into a store and then you don't see any of your lines that you're planning on the floor. Because if it's not on a shelf on the floor, then you're like, you know what, I have stock in the DC, but then there's no stock in the store.
Or maybe it means
and
people have
exactly
already
who to
bought
call,
it.
and then you tell them, listen, guys, there's no stock in the store, and I don't know, we need to get the stock in the store, because you know you're losing sales there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you specialize in any supply?
I've done fresh produce, but right now I'm in grocery.
Grocery.
Yeah, I'm doing grocery. We actually ordering from the vendors to the DC, and then we also assist that in terms of getting that stock into stores as well.
And is anyone more exciting than the other?
They're actually quite the same, but then with the fresh one, it's very intense, because whatever you do, you need to make sure that you do right. The accuracy there has to be very, very much on the high level, because now you have a very short life kind of products that you're dealing with. Like for example, you have lettuce. Lettuce has like 2 days shelf life.
Whoa, shame.
So if you place your orders, you have to be like very much careful and make sure that you send the right quantity to the right store, because if you send a bit over to a wrong store, you're going to have waste. And you are actually measured. You measured in terms of how much you make in terms of your sales, and how much percentage you waste per article, which is per product. Yeah. So you can't sell 50,000 and then throw away 25,000. You're not making money.
Yeah. Wow, poor lettuce.
Yeah.
Now, what do you enjoy most about your job?
It's a dynamic part of it. It changes every day, and there's quite a lot of excitement there. There's always events, promotions.
Yeah.
There's always new products to launch. it's quite interesting. It's very nice.
Eugene, what is the hardest thing about your job?
I'll say it's a logistic factor. In terms of you can work out your orders and your allocations for maybe 2 weeks in advance, and say in this week, in week 2 from today, we're gonna have a promotion, and then the stock will be in stores, right? And then for some reason, on the day of the stock to when it's supposed to get to the DC, maybe that one truck, must be using, we get stock from one vendor to a DC. Maybe that one truck gets maybe it gets an accident, it gets involved in an accident, or maybe it's a breakdown. Oh. And then that stock's not actually gonna be in time in terms of the DC.
True.
And if they won't make it in time, you might have some stores that are actually due to get stock on that day. And in terms of our stores, not all stores get stock every day, right? Some stores get stock maybe twice a week, right? So if they miss money, they only get that stock on Friday. So,
and if it's lettuce,
so the impact might be very big.
Then it might actually rot in the distribution van.
Yeah, you might actually run the promotion with no stock because of that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Eugene Sikhakhane. I will dream of the lettuce tonight.
Please don't try.
Now, if you're not sure if you've got the nerves and the know-how for this career, then consider this from the fairy godmother.
My name is Donna McCallum, and I am a fantastically fabulous and magical fairy godmother. In each of these episodes, I will be covering one of the 10 tips in more detail. And just so that you don't miss out, here are the 10 tips. Tip number 1, be authentic. Tip 2, play to your strengths. Tip 3, have fun. Do what you love and love what you do. Tip 4, it's your choice. Tip 5, learn to learn. Tip number 6 is dream big. Tip number 7, take action. Tip number 8, overcome your fears. Tip 9, build support around you. And tip 10, gratitude. Today we're looking at the second tip, playing to your strengths. What do you think this means? What it means is find out what you're good at and do what you're good at. How many of you have had this experience? You come home from school with your report and guess what? You got an A for history and you got a B for English. But you also got a D for biology and an E for accountancy. What do your parents say? They probably say that you need to work more on your biology and accountancy, right? They may even send you to extra lessons. While it's important for you to work hard and do well in all of your subjects in school, playing to your strengths is about finding out what subjects you're good at, the subjects that you're passionate about, and they're the ones that you enjoy the most. So if biology and accounting are not your thing, and clearly you're great at English and history, then concentrate on the careers where English and history are important. Don't go and do the accounting degree, even if your father wants you to do it. Go and do the English and history degree. Tiger Woods started playing golf when he was 4 years old, and his parents didn't say to him when he was 12, "Wow, Tiger, you're so good at golf, you're such a good sportsman, maybe you should also try basketball." No, he was so good at golf, so he focused on the golf, and now he's the best golfer in the world. Some of you may already know what you're good at, and some of you are still discovering what you're good at, and that's what your teens and your 20s is all about. But I'm now going to give you a quick exercise about how to reveal your strengths. The trick is that you will find your strengths in the things that you love to do, the things that you're passionate about. You know you have those times when you're doing something and time just seems to disappear. Do you know what I mean? When you do these things, your soul lights up. So on a sheet of paper, I'd like you to write down this heading. The heading is, "My soul lights up when I." Now spend 10 minutes writing down all the things that you can think of that make your soul light up. And in this list are your strengths.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
Our next guest is involved in the distribution sector. Please welcome Josephine Sidambe.
Thank you for having me today.
Pleasure having you. Now, Josephine began her logistics career in 2000 as a fleet manager at Spoornet. After 4 years, she joined petroleum company BPSA. 2 years thereafter, she joined Saint-Gobain SA, a manufacturing company for light building solutions. And in 2009, she joined Tongaat Hewlett Starch.
Now, she continued studying from the onset of her career and successfully completed courses through the universities of Pretoria and Johannesburg. Now, she joined Pick n Pay in the year 2010 as a National Manager Quality Management System, QMS, where she works with the Supply Chain Distribution Center team. Hello again.
Now, I understand that the distribution center is very big. What exactly goes on inside?
Yes, you're right. A distribution center is quite a big site. We receive stock from the suppliers. Before we receive it, we check the quality of the product. And inside the distribution center, there is shelving, and the shelving can go up 7 levels high. When we receive the stock, we put it away on the shelves. And then we later pick it as a consolidated store order. And then we load that store load into a vehicle, and then we dispatch it to the store.
So clearly you receive goods and you also send goods out. It sounds like a busy environment. Is it a high pressure environment?
Yes, correctly. At some point during the peak season, it is a highly pressurized environment. We are under pressure to make sure that we pick the complete store order in good quality and dispatch it on time at the stores, so that our consumers, whenever they walk into the store, they do find all the stock which they would like to purchase.
Now, you mentioned the shelving system, and I'm imagining it must be so complicated with so many goods that you have in the center. How do you keep it so organized?
We actually use a SAP system, warehouse management, on the computers to manage our bin location. So as I mentioned, our shelving, each shelving has got a bin location, and that bin location has got a number. And every time we put a batch stock code, we can actually track each batch product into a bin location. So the warehouse management system actually controls the movement of the stock from high racking, bringing it down onto the peak phase, and then this is where we pick it from the peak stage. And also the warehouse management system does manage the availability of the empty bin locations.
Okay.
Now, I mean, it seems like things are coming in and out. How do you track everything? Do you work closely with the transport people?
Yes, that's correct. The distribution center does work very closely with the buying team, the demand planning, and the transporter. The demand planning team, they give visibility to the distribution center in terms of the suppliers who are going to come at such a time, with what product, in what quantity. So we already know prior before the supplier arrives, so we prepare to receive them. And the same, likewise, what is going to go outside, what we're gonna dispatch outside from the distribution center, we have visibility in the warehouse management system what the complete order for the store is in terms of the distribution, the description of the product, the quantity involved, and the day and time when they would like to receive the stock.
Wow.
Now, Josephine, you are an important link in the supply chain. Do you work closely with other departments like the buying and the planning department?
Yes, that is correct. We work very closely with them. As I've mentioned, the demand planning, they give us visibility to the plan. The name of the supplier, who's going to come at such a time, the quantity of the product they will bring to us. And when the distribution centers has problems with regards to the product quality or quantities, we communicate to the buying team, because they are the ones who will communicate with the supplier. And of course, when we finish picking the store orders, we communicate with the transporter, who's going to do the routing and planning the schedule at what time they are going to deliver to the store.
Fantastic. Now I can imagine during peak season, I mean, I'm sure the house gets full. Do you ever run out of space?
Currently, with what has been planned for the Longmeadow Distribution Center, the grocery shed, where we put our dry goods, you know, your rice, sugar, and beans, we have adequate space, because the shed is actually 73,000 square meters. Inside, we have 73 beans, as I mentioned earlier. And we receive about 95 suppliers a day, and we pick 200,000 cases per day. So at the moment, it's adequate space for all that movement in the grocery shed. And in the perishable shed also, the shed is about 35,000 square meters big. We have about 4,000 location bins for the bulk stock. And we receive about 130 suppliers a day, and we pick about 120,000 cases per day. So all that, there's adequate space for a day at the moment with what has been planned to be distributed from the Longmeadow DC.
That sounds really hectic and complicated. And I'm imagining you must need quite a large number of people to keep everything running smoothly.
Yes.
And what jobs can people have or apply for in the distribution center?
Yes, first of all, it's quite a big site. On average a day, we have about 2,500 staff working at the Longmeadow D site. And this involves people who are doing jobs like providing security, cleaning, the receivers, the pickers inside the warehouse, the loaders, the inventory managers, your warehouse supervisors, the DC manager, the quality control people who check the quality of the product. Yes, and the drivers too, who drive the trucks outside. So it's quite a busy and exciting place to work.
Now, what kind of educational training would I need in order to work in the distribution center?
It would be good for youngsters from matric to have passion to go and study logistics and transport management or supply chain management. And all these courses, you can obtain them at colleges like Damelin, University of Pretoria or University of Johannesburg.
And how do you store perishable goods like fruits and vegetables?
See, the perishable DC, it is built with 3 chambers. You've got an ambient chamber, which is you have a built-in facility for an ambient set temperature of between 5 and 12 degrees. And this is where you store your fruits, your mangoes, bananas, watermelons. You have another chamber which has a chill temperature set between 0 and 4 degrees. And this is where we store our vegetables, your packed salads, your fresh poultry. It stays in that chamber. We have another third chamber, which is a freezer chamber, which is also set between minus 12 degrees to minus 18 degrees. And this is where we store all the frozen products, your frozen chicken, frozen turkeys and all that. And in addition to that, on a day-to-day running program, we have quality control programs to make sure we maintain the quality of the product.
Oh, yeah, she said chicken. I'm like, I love chicken.
Yes.
Anyway, what's the best part of your job?
Well, the best part of the job for myself and anyone working in a distribution center is at the end of the work shift, you want to have achieved all the targets within the plan. As I said earlier, we need to deliver to the stores a full, complete order of what they've ordered in good quality and on time as they requested it.
Yeah, and what is the most challenging aspect of your job?
Yes, the most challenging part of the job in a distribution center is to achieve those targets, because remember, there's usually unforeseen factors which may interrupt the plan. For example, when the system goes down, the computer, we work on the computers. So if they do go down the system, you've got to wait an hour or 2 until it's resolved. But then the challenge will actually be to reschedule the plan so that you still go back on track to be able to deliver on time.
Now, how do you get employed in a distribution center? Do you start from the bottom and work your way up to the top?
There are many options. You can start as a picker or a loader, provided that you aspire to acquire more educational training while you are working in the DC. So you can still go up from a picker until you are an inventory manager. Or the other way, directly as you are leaving school from matric, then you can go and register with one of the colleges or universities. And if you do achieve your logistics or transport management or supply chain management course, then you can inquire within a DC if there's any vacancy.
Wow, Josephine, that was so insightful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving.
Before we go to the break, let's give our brain some exercise with this teaser.
Listen very carefully. An 18-wheeler truck is crossing a 4-kilometer bridge that can only support 10,000 kilograms, and that's exactly how much the rig weighs. Halfway across the bridge, a 30-gram sparrow lands on the cab, but the bridge doesn't collapse. Why not? Think about it. The answer coming up after this. After the break, we explore another important link in the process, the transportation of goods, also known as wheels.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
I remember phoning my son Andile before the biggest game of his career. It was the 2009 Nedbank Cup. We spoke about reaching for his goals on and off the field, about getting a loan at Nedbank to buy him boots all those years ago, and now playing in the Nedbank Cup. This was his chance. From that game in 2009 to lifting the cup for his new club in 2011, Andile reached his goals through the Nedbank Cup. If a bank can do that, I would team up with that bank.
Make things happen. Nedbank.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
With us now for the Wheels Lowdown, we have Aubrey van Buren and Tony de Almeida.
Now, Aubrey is the Learning and Development Manager and Senior Instructional Designer / Project Manager at Logistic and Distribution Company, RTT. With 10 years of experience in learning and development, he has a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Pretoria, a diploma in human resource management from Damlin Business College, and a certificate in education training and development from the University of Johannesburg, and a whole lot more, but I'm running out of time.
Yes, you are. Let me tell you about Tony. Now, Tony grew up in Zululand, KZN, or Sabisa to be more exact, and was schooled in Nongoma and Eshowe. He studied to be an educator with majors in biology and physical education. He entered the transport industry when doing a night shift, sorting of parcels into routes for delivery. UTI offered him a full-time position as a supervisor in the distribution of parcels. He worked himself up through the ranks and landed up in industrial relations, where he worked in a team negotiating the conditions of employment and wages for the road freight industry. Tony is currently involved in industry vocational training development, developing skills programs and learnerships that is fit for purpose in the transport industry. And.
Welcome, gentlemen, Tony and Aubrey.
Thank you.
Aubrey, we've heard about planning and buying, but of course there's another important link in this process, and it's called the transportation of goods. And the people at Pick n Pay call it wheels. So how does it fit in this retail process, and why is it so important?
Without wheels, the whole supply chain basically cannot function. Wheels helps products to get from point A to point B, from manufacturers to warehouses, from warehouses to ports, to end suppliers. Wherever you need it, wheels will get it there.
So you basically transport goods from the suppliers to the warehouse and from the warehouse to the retail stores. How do you coordinate with the retailers?
The very most important part of getting all of that right is your quality management system. Your quality management system basically tells you what the needs are. In other words, where do we need to deliver what? When do we need to deliver it? And how do we need to deliver it? Is it a crucial priority or not so much? In other words, is it necessary for air freight or road freight? If it's road freight, then wheels kicks into motion. Your quality management system will tell you where you need to deliver it.
All right, Aubrey, here's a scenario. What happens if a truck breaks down or it's involved in an accident and the store doesn't receive its goods? How does this affect the supply chain, and who can fix it?
Well, obviously in a scenario like that, the supply chain comes to a grinding halt. So planning would be vitally important, making sure that there's backup, to make sure that these type of scenarios do not happen. It's not acceptable.
So you do have a backup plan?
Absolutely.
Now, is the tracking of all the parcels a very technical process?
It is, especially when it comes to delivery of high valuable items, cell phones, those type of things. Your track and trace is very important. Your clients would like to know where their goods are, when it's going to be delivered, and where's it going to be delivered. That will avoid misdirects as well.
So how would one get involved? What's a good starting point to get into the industry?
A good starting point in the industry is to decide where do you want to take your career. If you would like to go the higher education route, I would definitely recommend a good university. But in real life, universities are expensive and not everybody has got access to universities. Another good starting point, which is on the lower side, is your learnerships. Learnerships is a fabulous way to get into the industry. You've got the experience, the exposure to the business. You get a full qualification at the end of the day, and you can decide, is this for you or if not.
How important are computers and computer systems in your industry?
Extremely important. Computers keeps the whole system running and make sure that the operation functions smoothly. it links everything together within the operation.
Now, Tony, I'm sure there's a lot of different jobs available within the industry. So I'm talking from drivers to mechanics to computer people. What other kind of employment opportunities are available within your field?
Zola, there are many opportunities. If you think of a transport company, it has as its core the operation and sales. And then you think of every support service, which would be finance, IT, HR, and everything else that surrounds the governance and the support and the expansion of operations and sales. So if you look at it, every transport company is a matrix and a microscopism of our whole society all in one company.
Now, Tony, what training opportunities are available in your industry?
We have a system in our industry for vocational training. So the legislation in terms of the Skills Development Act, we have the system called learnerships, where we can take unemployed people coming to us from school or people without jobs who apply to us through various avenues to be apprenticed or attached as an unemployed learner into the workplace, where they acquire vocational training, and they will come out with a formal national certificate, which has got an equivalent on the National Qualifications Framework. So for instance, an example would be, would they come out with an NQF level 1, which would be like a matric or standard 9 level, whereas an NQF level 5 might be a sort of what we would call a diploma level. So those are the opportunities that we have for vocational training in our industry.
Now, most companies are global, so what kind of opportunities are available worldwide? And if somebody had to go and work that side, would they get the job and be able to work anywhere in the world?
Yes, certainly, because the same systems that we refer to in terms of the processes in our industry would apply wherever you were, whether you're in Thailand or in Greenland or in Iceland or wherever, the same system would apply. Naturally, the language of that business would be critical for you. So if you were literate in English, that would assist you broadly in trying to get that global opportunity.
Are there specific people in the company who deal with imports, exports, borders, etc.?
Yes, there would be absolute specialists that would deal with that. It's a highly technical field, and there is loads of compliance. So in terms of the taxation of any parcel that crosses our borders and the different dues and revenue streams that flow from that parcel crossing our borders, those people have got to be highly specialized, and there is not enough specialized people in our industry to do those jobs.
And what sort of educational background should they be coming from? What qualification do they need to be those people?
So we would say if we were recruiting from a school leaver, we would want that school leaver to go into a learnership and basically enter into a learnership at an NQF level 3 level. And where we'd provide the experiential learning and vocational training. So at the end of that qualification, they would be fit for purpose as an importer and exporter.
Now, Tony, one assumes that the industry works on tight deadlines. Is it a high-pressure environment to work around? Is this true?
Yes, it is, considering that every parcel has an expectation of when it's got to be delivered, and then of course there's an expiry of that undertaking. It's no use delivering to a retail outlet when the expiry date of the product has already preceded the delivery date. So that would be unacceptable.
Now, is working in logistics a rewarding profession? Tony.
Pearl, it is a highly rewarding profession. And it's an exciting profession. It's attractive because it deals with the international community. You deal with loads of diverse people. There's all sorts of industries that you deal with all the time. So it's not like if you're in a pharmaceutical industry, you deal with other pharmaceutical people, if that could be an example. We have to deliver. We're the heart of services to every single industrial node in the country. So we get to deal with those languages and those customs of a variety of clients. And I find that incredibly rewarding, the diversity of that. I find enthusing and something that one can look forward to when you wake up every day of your life.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. Abre, would you agree? Do you find your profession rewarding?
It's highly rewarding. I always say that people that works in the learning and development field, especially within the transport environment, will never ever get rich. But we will get rich internally. That reward is totally internally. But seeing people succeed makes it all worthwhile.
Now, this is to the both of you guys. What qualities would one need in order to succeed in the transportation side of the logistics industry?
Certainly a sense of time. You've got to be time sensitive and understand that the product has an expiry date in terms of the service delivery. But secondly, you've got to have an enormous amount of patience, and you've got to be customer driven and customer centric. If you are not that type of person, then it's very difficult to succeed in our industry. You've got to want to serve and serve efficiently.
And Aubrey?
I agree. Client is king at the end of the day, and our drivers out there is the face of the organization. They represent us. They need to be extremely patient. They need to be extremely helpful and extremely available to our clients' demands and needs.
Mm-hmm. What final words or advice do you have for learners who are interested in your profession and who want to be part of the transport and logistics industry?
I would say if you're the learner sitting and wondering what you're going to do for the rest of your life, consider a career in the vocational sphere of our industry. Come and join a company as a learner. Get a national qualification and help promote your career in that vocational space. We've got this institution in our industry called the Transport Education Training Authority, commonly known as TETA, and that helps govern the standards and qualifications framework for what we can do inside the companies to offer you a career and a qualification.
And is there a university qualification that they can get as well?
There are numerous higher qualifications where you can do supply chain management and logistic degrees, etc. But the one that we're promoting for you as the learner is join us in our companies, get the practical experience and motivate your career from that point of view in terms of the finance commitments that you might have or you might not aspire to a university.
Aubrey, any last words?
Yeah, no, I agree with Tony. I think the sooner you get on the floor and get into the business, the sooner you learn what the business is all about. Learning is knowledge, and knowledge is power at the end of the day.
So before the break, we wanted to know the answer to this brain teaser.
An 18-wheeler truck is crossing a 4-kilometer bridge that can only support 10,000 kilograms, and that's exactly how much the rig weighs. Halfway across the bridge, a 30-gram sparrow lands on the cab, but the bridge doesn't collapse. Why not?
Any guesses, guys?
Safety measures.
Is that the best you can do? You don't have the answer to that.
Well, I was thinking about something with wings. Doesn't bull give you wings?
Very creative, but here's the answer, right? The answer is, right, since the bridge is 4 kilometers long, the halfway point would be 2 kilometers. The 18-wheeler would have used much more than 30 grams of fuel to drive 2 kilometers.
Got it?
Okay. They still don't get it. They still don't get it.
Fuel.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
And finally, to complete our broadcast, we're joined by Thabile Adams, who's here from the University of Johannesburg Psychological Services and Career Development Department.
Now, Thabile will run through some tools on how to choose the right career.
This week, Thabile will be dealing with the world of work and how the work environment impacts on the choices you make for your career.
Thabile, take it away.
What is the world of work? The world of work is a world that's also known as the marketplace. It's a world in which we get to match who we are, interests, abilities, values, personality with what we do. It's a world in which we spend most of our productive hours in our lives. It's a world in which we enter from the age of 16, 18 until the age of 65. What is a job? A job is a piece of work, either mental or physical, that is done as part of one's occupation for an agreed price. It is a post of employment and can be full-time, part-time position, or a contract. What is a career? A career is a person's progression or general course of action through life or through a phase of life, as in some profession or undertaking. An occupation or profession, often requiring special training, followed as one's life work. If we simplified these two definitions, we could say that work is any form of mental or physical exertion towards an expected outcome. A job is a piece of work for which one is paid or has a contract, and a career is a series of jobs which indicates progression and growth through one's lifetime. Did you know the world of work has changed over the past 10 years due to internationalization, technology, changing structures of organizations, and cultural diversity in the workplace. What are the requirements to get into the world of work? Depending on what you want to do and how quickly you want to do it, you may need specific requirements for some careers and at times not. Currently, the most minimum requirement is a grade 12 certificate. In some cases, a trade certificate, for example, an electrical trade certificate or boiler maker certificate. In some cases, for a medical degree, if you want to pursue a career as a doctor or an engineer, you will need an engineering degree, and so on and so forth. There are some cases which you do not require educational qualifications, and in this case, training can occur on the job. What type of work can one do? There are endless types of careers, and they can be grouped in various ways. Let's look at a few. There's natural resources, construction, finance, health services, educational services, physical sciences, the arts and culture, entertainment, recreation and sports, and finally hospitality. Obviously, there's a whole lot more which are not mentioned. There are many different work opportunities. Here are a few. Learnership. In a learnership, you learn as you earn. They combine theory and practice, which culminates in a recognized qualification within a specific field. The sector education and training authorities are responsible for learnerships, and the training is intended to prepare you for employment or self-employment. Volunteering, this is working without any form of payment. One benefits greatly from volunteering because you gain experience while empowering communities, and it may lead to many opportunities. Entrepreneurship, this is where you create your own opportunities and build a business. Entrepreneurs are people who are comfortable with uncertainty, taking risks, and are courageous. Low-paying service sector work. This is jobs such as cleaners, plastic packers, and construction workers. And finally, the other opportunity is high-skilled professional jobs. These require higher education and training. For example, engineers, psychologists, scientists, and so on and so forth. So, what does this mean for me as I prepare to enter the world of work? You need to understand there's lots of competition in the workplace, and you need to use all the skills which you have acquired throughout your lifetime. No one has a crystal ball to tell you what to do and how to do it, so you should take ownership for your own career choice process. This involves self-insight, researching, planning, goal setting, and reflecting. It's also important to consider all options and be flexible in order to achieve your career goals. How do I become employed? Once you've chosen a type of career, you need to start applying for work. Normally, this follows a process of looking for vacancies, applying by sending a covering letter and a CV, attending interviews, negotiating, and signing the contract. However, many people become employed through networking. Networking is a process of building relationships with people and exploring how you can benefit one another. Sometimes this leads to a person becoming employed by the other within the organization they work. How do I do job research? There are 4 kinds of ways: paper, PC, people, and participation. Paper involves printed information which you can get from the libraries, career centers, or bookstores, or newspapers. The PC, this is doing your research through the internet or online recruitment sites. People, this involves networking, and participation involves you going to the company to do job shadowing as well as volunteering in that company to discover, is this really what I want to do? How do I know if a job is right for me? Searching, gathering information may not be glamorous, and it takes effort. But really, it's the best way to know what's best for you. When you make your final decision on your dream job, you will also know the reasons why this is the best job for you. Rather than assumptions based on your imagination, you'll have a solid reason why this is the best career for you in your field at this time. Often people talk about work ethics. What do they mean by this? Work ethics is belief in the moral benefit and importance of work, and it's an inherent ability to strengthen character. Employers expect their employees to have a good work ethic and be committed to the importance of the job. Poor work ethics is when one does not care about doing a job well because they do not value the importance of the outcome. How do we know what work will be meaningful to us? In order for us to feel work is important to us and strengthen our character, we need to possess self-insight and the ability to reflect. Self-insight assists us in making the right career choice. If we are to make a good choice, we are likely to find work fun, meaningful, and fulfilling. The ability to reflect enables one to continually evaluate and carefully consider our actions or our work so that we can begin to understand what gives us meaning in life, what we enjoy doing, and what we are good at. By reflecting, we can make good estimations of what will make us happy in the future. I hope this has helped you to understand the world of work a little better. Good luck in making the right career choice.
So thank you for joining us. I'm certain that the information and tools that you have received today will make a positive difference to your future and your career. As you sit here today, your most valuable asset by far is your future earning stream, and that is your choice. My final advice to you is to use this information to the best of your ability. Go out there and ask questions. Contact the appropriate people. Investigate your options and never give up. You are the master of your own destiny. Like Nedbank, you too can make things happen.
And there you have it. Transport, logistics, and distribution play a vital role in keeping goods on the shelves. So, next time you're walking through your favorite shop, think about all that's going on behind the scenes.
And also consider how many jobs are available in this sector. That's right, transport, logistics, and distribution may just be your ticket to a rewarding career.
If you enjoyed this broadcast, please speak to your educator to find out about other topics. And don't forget to register.
Of course. Now, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been wonderful. You know what I enjoyed the most?
What?
Buying.
Of course.
I think I'm going to go be a buyer now.
Well,
I'm going to go study. I'm a buyer.
We got to keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top. Yeah. Oh, Lord. Whoa. Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to never stop. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.